It was a warm Saturday morning when I rolled my Ferrari 488 Pista out onto the driveway for a quick wash. The red paint shimmered in the sunlight, a reflection of the hours I'd put into keeping it in mint condition. I hadn't been outside for more than 10 minutes when I noticed something strange, a black SUV creeping slowly down the street, roof-mounted lights flashing red and blue. At first, I thought it was a local patrol or maybe a lost emergency unit. But then I saw the bold letters on the side, HOA Enforcement. Two men stepped out, both wearing tactical vests with fake badges clipped to their fronts. Their uniforms looked like knockoffs of real police gear close enough to scare someone, but obviously wrong if you looked twice. One of them barked at me, asking why my car was parked on public display, claiming it was a violation of community street view aesthetics. I looked at them, confused, and asked if they were with the city police or sheriffs. The guy smirked and said, "We're authorized through the HOA to issue compliance citations." "This is a restricted zone," I chuckled, thinking it was a joke. I lived here for over 5 years and never once had I heard of these so-called HOA cops. I asked for documentation badges, city registration, anything official. Instead of answering, one of them pulled out a notepad and began writing a citation, while the other started circling my Ferrari, inspecting it like he was doing a drug bust. "You can't park exotic vehicles in plain view of the street," the guy said. "You're disturbing the Uniform Visual Code. You mean my own driveway?" I asked, half laughing. That's when it got aggressive. One of them tapped the side mirror with his baton hard. The carbon fiber casing cracked instantly. My blood boiled, and I stepped in between him and the car, holding up my phone to start recording. That only, made them more hostile. The second guy shouted, "You're interfering with enforcement action. Step back now." It didn't feel real. These weren't cops. But they were acting like it, and they weren't backing down. That's when I realized this wasn't just some overzealous HOA nonsense. These guys had crossed a line, and I wasn't about to let them get away with it. I hit record and dialed a number I never thought I'd need. My friend Mark, a SWAT team commander. Mark picked up after the first ring. I didn't waste time with pleasantries. I told him exactly what happened. Two self-proclaimed HOA officers had just vandalized my Ferrari, were impersonating law enforcement, and were threatening me on my own property. Mark didn't hesitate. "Stay calm, keep filming, and don't engage. I'll handle it," he said. His tone changed from casual to clipped professional. That's when I knew things were about to get serious. While I stayed on the sidewalk, recording, the fake cops strutted around like they were running an operation. They started shouting at a neighbor walking his dog, warning him about unregistered pets, and claiming the HOA was going to fine him. My neighbor looked just as baffled as I was. These guys had gone rogue and no one knew where their authority began or ended because, frankly, they had none. One of them strutted back toward me. "This is your last warning. Move the vehicle or it gets towed. HOA property rights override your complaint," he snapped, now visibly irritated that I was still recording him. When I calmly said I had already contacted someone from the city's emergency task force, he scoffed. "We are the authority here. You think the cops care about a parking code violation?" He was still talking when his radio buzzed. "HQ secure," a voice crackled. Returning to base, they jumped into their SUV and peeled away, heading down the road toward the clubhouse that had recently been remodeled into what the HOA called their operations center. The whole thing gave off mall cop energy, but with actual aggression and violence behind it. I looked at the damage on my Ferrari again. Cracked mirror, dented panel. That wasn't just cosmetic. It was thousands of dollars, not to mention the violation of my rights and property. But I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. Mark had told me to stay put, and I trusted him. Exactly 12 minutes after the fake cops drove off, I heard it, the low, unmistakable hum of heavy vehicles approaching from both ends of the street. Black SWAT vans rolled up quietly. No sirens, no lights, just precision and purpose. Officers in real tactical gear disembarked, rifles ready, communicating silently. They weren't here to chat. Mark's voice came through my phone once more. "Don't go near the clubhouse. Watch from a distance. This is about to end fast." I stood there, stunned, staring at the crack in my Ferrari's side mirror. The carbon fiber was splintered like glass, and a scuff along the driver's door made it clear this wasn't just a compliance warning. One of the fake HOA enforcers still had the baton in his hand, casually spinning it like he was in control of a traffic stop. My grip on the phone tightened as I kept recording, heart pounding behind my calm expression. "Did you just hit my car?" I asked, my voice steady but low. The taller one, probably their so-called leader, didn't answer. He just stepped forward, eyeing me like I was the one breaking the law. "You're lucky we're not towing this right now," he said. "You're non-compliant. The HOA code says exotic vehicles left in public view are a visual violation." I nearly laughed. "On my driveway?" I said, gesturing at the home behind me. "This isn't public. And that's not real law enforcement gear." The shorter guy, clearly the hothead, stepped up close. "We're sanctioned. We've got authority. The HOA board authorized street enforcement zero tolerance." They weren't just drunk on power. They were delusional. Their tactical vests had cheap plastic badges sewn on, the kind you'd find in a costume shop. The enforcement unit patches looked like they'd been printed at a gas station. But they spoke like they were on an episode of Cops, citing made-up codes and throwing around legal-sounding jargon like street-level compliance protocol. I backed up, slowly walking toward my porch while keeping the camera pointed their way. "All right," I said. "This is now a police matter. You just damaged a $400,000 vehicle and threatened me. Let's see what real authority has to say about that." They didn't flinch. In fact, the tall one smirked. "Good luck. By the time they get here, we'll be done with our rounds." I didn't bother arguing. I pulled up my contacts and dialed. Mark. He wasn't just a friend, he was SWAT, active duty, and he owed me a favor from years back. When he picked up, I got straight to the point. "Mark, I've got two idiots dressed like cops who just vandalized my car and threatened me. I have it all on video. They're impersonating officers. Can you send someone?" The silence before the strike was unsettling. I stood behind the safety of my garden hedge, phone still recording, as the SWAT vans fanned out around the so-called HOA Operations Center. The structure looked like any suburban clubhouse brick. Neutral paint and a flagpole out front. But inside, it had been converted into a bizarre command post, complete with fake security monitors, folding tables cluttered with paperwork, and what looked like surplus military gear lining the walls. Mark had told me earlier that there had been rumors about rogue neighborhood groups impersonating law enforcement, but nothing concrete until now. The damage to my Ferrari and the footage I captured had triggered a rapid federal and local response. These guys weren't just faking authority. They were violating state laws, impersonating officers, and potentially involved in deeper criminal activity. The SWAT team moved like clockwork. Officers took positions behind parked vehicles and landscaping walls, quietly surrounding the building. One of them held up a hand signal. Another officer moved to the clubhouse door and banged it, once with the butt of his rifle. "Police! Search warrant! Come out now!" No response. 3 seconds later, a flashbang exploded near the side entrance. The bang echoed through the neighborhood, followed by a plume of smoke. Screams came from inside. The door was kicked in. Seconds later, within moments, real officers stormed in shouting commands, clearing rooms. I could hear the yelling through my phone's mic even from my distance. Two of the fake HOA cops, still wearing their vests and knockoff badges, came stumbling out the front door, hands in the air. Another one tried to run out the back and was tackled before he reached the hedges. One of them started crying, babbling about just trying to enforce order, but nobody was buying it. The vests, the radios, the police lights that created a full illusion of authority and used it to bully residents from across the street. I watched as officers laid out the confiscated items on the clubhouse lawn: batons, non-lethal weapons, citation pads with fake city seals, and even replica firearms. I spotted one of the fake enforcers sitting handcuffed against the wall. Looking dazed, probably realizing the game was over, Mark walked over to me a few minutes later, calm but stern. "They're all going away for a long time," he said. "Impersonating officers, destruction of property, assault, you name it." I looked at my Ferrari, still dented but shining in the sun. Justice wasn't just served. It was delivered. In full tactical gear, the neighborhood was never the same after that day. By evening, news vans lined the street and drone cameras buzzed overhead, capturing aerial shots of the HOA clubhouse swarmed by law enforcement. The video I recorded had already gone viral, millions of views within hours. Social media was flooded with reactions. Some people were outraged, others amused, but nearly everyone agreed on one thing: those fake HOA cops had taken things way too far. The city council moved fast. An emergency session was held within 48 hours. The HOA was officially suspended pending investigation, and every member of its board was served with subpoenas. Turns out, this wasn't just about a few power-hungry neighborhood busybodies. There were financial irregularities, unauthorized security expenses, and illegal surveillance systems paid for through misappropriated HOA funds. What had started as a local dispute over a parked Ferrari had uncovered a mini empire of corruption hiding in plain sight. Meanwhile, my insurance company moved quickly to handle the damages on my Ferrari. Between the cracked side mirror, dented panel, and paint scratches, the cost hit well over $17,000, but I didn't pay a dime. Not only did insurance cover it, the city attorney's office also coordinated a lawsuit against the HOA, and I was granted full compensation plus damages for harassment. I took that money and upgraded the Ferrari's detailing, ceramic coating, fresh leather interior polish, the works. Strangely, people started recognizing me. At gas stations, in the grocery store, even at car meets. "Hey, you're the Ferrari guy from the HOA Takedown video, right?" It became a sort of legend in our city. I was invited to speak on a podcast about neighborhood overreach and personal rights. One reporter even asked if I'd consider running for HOA president in the future. I laughed. Only if they let me install a racetrack. As for the fake HOA enforcers, they faced a long list of charges: impersonating a police officer, assault, illegal use of emergency lights, and fraud. The main ringleader, the self-proclaimed HOA captain, was sentenced to prison time. The others took plea deals. The clubhouse was permanently shut down and reclassified as city property until the neighborhood could form a legal, non-authoritarian community board. The Ferrari still sits in my driveway on weekends, polished and proud. Every time I see it, I don't just think about horsepower or speed. I think about justice, boundaries, and how standing up for yourself, even with a camera and a phone call, can bring down an empire built on lies.